Good morning, class 9th. Welcome back to your biology class. Today we will learn about second category of plant tissues, that is permanent tissues. But as we always do, a quick revision of previous topic. In last lecture we have studied about tissues. That tissues are defined as a group of cells that are similar in structure and work together to achieve a particular function. But on the basis of their presence in different living organisms, these tissues were categorized into two broad categories, that is plant tissues and animal tissues. We have gone through the systematic classification of the plant tissues. Here you can see, right? So in that we have studied that plants have two categories of tissue. Number one is dividing tissue, that is meristematic tissues, which were further divided into three subcategories, that is apical meristem, lateral meristem, intercalary meristem. That apical meristem was present at root and shoot tips. Lateral meristem was present at the sides of plant, and intercalary meristem was present at nodes and internodes. Right? So number two category is permanent tissue, which are non-dividing tissues. This is our today's topic, that is permanent tissues. Apart from these tissues, we will also go through protective tissues of plants in this lecture. Now, let us start. Permanent tissue. These are the plant tissues which have lost their ability to divide and grow, thus attains a permanent structure. But what do you think? Plants have these permanent tissues right when they germinate from seeds? Let us tell. As we have studied, permanent tissues are composed of cells that have lost the power of dividing. You must be thinking that the plant is growing structure and then it should have only meristematic tissues, right? As permanent tissues means tissues that are already present and those do not divide. So initially, if the plant does not have this permanent tissue, then from where did they come? I'm sure this is the mind-boggling question for you people. The answer is quite simple. When meristematic tissues have divided and they reach the final state of their division, they attain maturity. This process is called differentiation. After this point, these tissues do not divide anymore. They only get differentiated into different parts, and these non-dividing tissues then become permanent tissues. Did you understand what this means? It means both meristematic tissues and permanent tissues are one and the same. When tissues grow and divide, they are known as meristematic tissues, and when they finally matures, that means differentiation have been done and they divide no more, they become permanent tissues. So permanent tissues are nothing but matured meristematic tissues. Okay? Yes. Now, simple permanent tissues, as we have studied the chart, the permanent tissues are of two kinds. One is simple permanent tissue and another one is complex permanent tissue. As the name is suggesting, is meaning it's simple. That means when we observe these tissues, their cells are quite similar in structure and shape, and they are simple to study, right? A few layers of cells beneath the epidermis are generally simple permanent tissue, and the most common one is parenchyma. And as we have three permanent tissue on the cards, that is parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. The common name for them is parenchyma is filler. They fill the spaces of the plant at different locations. On the other hand, collenchyma are supporter tissues, and the last sclerenchyma are the protector one. Okay, so let me explain parenchyma first. Parenchyma forms the bulk of plant body. As told earlier, they are filler tissue. It consists of thin walled living cells. The cells are isodiametric. That means The diameter is same at all the positions, or you can say in all the cells. They are equally expanded on all the sides. Okay, the cell wall is thin and they enclose very dense cytoplasm with a small nucleus, but this time they have vacuole. Okay, the intercellular spaces are abundant, and your parenchyma is present in all the organs of the plant, whether it is root, stem, leaves, flower, fruit, seeds. Yes, this is the structure for the parenchyma. The transverse section, that is TS and LS, longitudinal section, is given here. You can see the cytoplasm, it is quite dense, nucleus is small, middle lamella chloroplast. Chloroplast are the structures which trap sunlight. Vacuoles are there, intercellular spaces. देखिए this is the intercellular spaces, and this is the primary cell wall. Now, what are the functions of parenchyma? The main function of parenchymatous tissue is storage of food. They store food in the form of starch. Parenchyma forms the framework of all the plant organs. As told earlier, they are filler ones, so they somewhat help in the forming the shape or structure of the plant structure. Okay, plant shape actually. Then parenchyma serves as packaging tissue to fill the spaces between other tissues. It also stores waste material of the plant in the form of gum, crystals, resins, etc. The intercellular air spaces of parenchyma cells allow gaseous exchange. There are two modifications. If chloroplast is present, these parenchyma tissues are then called chlorenchyma, and their main function is to perform photosynthesis. But in aquatic plants, there are some large air cavities present in these parenchyma, so they become buoyant and they help them to float over the surface of water. Such a parenchyma type is called erenchyma. These are the modification. Yes, next tissue is collenchyma. Collenchyma is usually found in 3-4 layers beneath the epidermis, in stem, petiole, leaves, or leaves of herbaceous dicot plants. Dicot means the plants which have cotyledonous structure, two cotyledons in their seed. The cells of this tissue are living. They are elongated, but they are irregularly thickened. Means at all the sides there is no regular thickening of the content. Okay, some corners are more thickened than the other one. In collenchyma, intercellular spaces are generally absent. As their corners are thick, the intercellular spaces are reduced to zero. It allows bending of various parts of a plant like tendrils and stems of climbers without breaking. That means we can say the flexibility is given by collenchyma. Yes, functions of collenchyma: it provides the mechanical support, protection, flexibility and elasticity to the plant's organs. It allows easy bending in various parts, as told earlier. When cells of collenchyma contain some chloroplast, they manufacture sugar and starch, because the main function of chloroplast is to trap the solar energy and perform the process of photosynthesis. So wherever the chloroplast is present, whether in the case of parenchyma or in the case of collenchyma, in both the cases photosynthesis will take place. So here is the structure of collenchyma. You can see the irregular wall thickening because of which the intercellular spaces is reduced a lot. Okay. Yes. Next is sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma cells are dead. Now these are dead cells. They are devoid of protoplasm. What happened to them actually? We have studied parenchyma. They have thin walled, right? So they have abundant of cytoplasm in them. When we move towards the collenchyma, they have little bit cytoplasm, but the walls are thickened. Here the walls in the case of sclerenchyma are quite thick, so that so their protoplasm is somewhat collapsed and there is no protoplasm inside, which results in the death of these tissues. So they are dead tissues, dead cells. They are devoid of protoplasm. They are long and narrow as the walls are thickened due to lignin deposition. The chemical substance which is deposited in the walls is called lignin. Such cell walls are called lignified. The cells of sclerenchyma are closely packed without intercellular spaces. When in the case of collenchyma there was little bit thickening at corner in an irregular way, that time also there was no intercellular spaces. So in the case of sclerenchyma there is too much thickening of the wall. There is no intercellular spaces again. Yes, the cells of sclerenchyma are of two types. One is fibers, another one is sclerates. Fibers, as the name is suggesting, they are long, slender, they are narrow, thick, and they also have lignified cells or cell walls, you can say, so that they are quite hard. They are quite hard, okay? So sclerates are irregular in shape. This tissue is present in stems, around vascular bundles, in the veins of leaves, and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts. For example, the husk of coconut is made up of sclerenchymatous tissue, and cotton fibers are also sclerenchymatous tissue. Yes, function of sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is mainly mechanical and protective in function. They provide protection along with the mechanical support. It also gives strength, rigidity, flexibility, elasticity to the plant body and thus enable it to withstand various strain. Yes, it is the structure of sclerenchyma when it is in the fibers form. Okay, and it have thick cell wall, no protoplasm, thus dead. You can see here as well the spaces are present. These spaces are called pits. The cell wall is quite thick, which results in the collapsing of the cytoplasm. That is why they are dead tissue. Okay, yes. Now the second type is complex permanent tissue. The different type of tissues we have discussed till they all look similar in structure, right? But now the complex permanent tissues are the permanent tissues which are performing one specific function, but different type of cells will contribute to attend this function. Okay, so complex tissues are made of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. Xylem and phloem are examples of such complex tissues. They are both conducting tissues and they constitute a vascular bundle. Vascular tissue, they are collectively called vascular tissue, means xylem plus phloem is equal to vascular tissues. It is the distinctive feature of complex plants, or you can say more modified plants, you can say higher plants. Actually, this feature helps the plant to survive in the various kind of environment. The plants which grow up to the height of 100 plus meters, how they get the water and food to each and every part. So just because of these vascular tissue, vascular means a kind of conducting tissue they conduct water and food for various plant parts. Thus they are very much important for the survival of plant. Yes, xylem. Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. As here the term is parenchyma, that means the part of xylem is parenchyma and they are living. Parenchyma's function was to store food in the form of starch. So here also that parenchyma will store food for the xylem. Okay. Yes, here tracheids vessels have thick walls and many are dead cells when mature. Tracheids and vessels are tubular structure. They are tube-like. You can see in the diagram. This allow them to support water and mineral vertically. Means they help them to vertically transport the water. Because roots are in the ground, they absorb water from there only and they have to transfer it to the it to the upper parts. So there should be vertical transport. Okay. The parenchyma stores food. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in function. The function of xylem is, the main function of xylem is to carry water and minerals. Actually, your soil have minerals. When you pour water on the soil, that those minerals dissolve in water, and along with the water they carried to the various parts of the plant vertically upward. Yes, here the same is written. That is why they are called water conducting tissue. Since walls of tracheids, vessels and sclerenchyma of xylem are lignified, they are known to give mechanical strength to the plant body. The parenchyma stores food and helps in sideway conduction of the water. How? If there are two cells, suppose there are two cells. So what will happen? Yes, there will be sideway conduction. That means from left to right and from right to left conduction will be seen. Yes, here phloem. Phloem is made of 5 types of cells. In many of the books you will study 4 types of cells. Okay, so what happened here? Your NCERT is mentioning sieve cells and sieve tubes separately. That's why they are telling you 5 types of cells are present. But in most of the books it is written sieve tube elements, which constitute both sieve cells and sieve tube cells. Okay, so phloem is made up of 5 types of cells: sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. Again, the phloem parenchyma is the living one, and it stores food in it in the form of starch. Okay, sieve cells and sieve tubes are here. You can see sieve are the one which have pores, which helps in the conduction or transportation of the food through these pores. Okay, yes, here sieve tubes are slender. They are slender structure, tube-like structures, and they are perforated, means pores are present in their walls. Phloem transport food from leaves, because leaves are the site of photosynthesis. There only food will be formed, and from there that food is transferred to various parts of the plant body. Yes, except phloem fibers, all phloem cells are living. Yes, phloem is also called bast cell. It is the living conducting tissue. It also contains tubes just like xylem, but does not perform mechanical function. We have just studied the function of xylem, that it gives strength to the plant body because of mechanical support. Here no mechanical support will be observed. Companion cells are the living cells, and they help in the side by transport of the material of the food materials, and along with this they also create a pressure to transport food in various directions, whether in the direction of gravity or against the gravity. Yes, sieve tube and companion cells have close cytoplasmic connection with each other through fine pits. Phloem fibers are thick-walled fiber with simple pits. They have simple pits in their walls. Okay. Yes, phloem parenchyma are thin-walled living cells of parenchyma of phloem. Okay. Function: the only function of phloem is to conduct or transport food prepared by the leaves to various parts of the body. Yes, here you can see the transport. Xylem vessels transport is in the one way only. On the other hand, your phloem shows the two-way flow. Okay, yes, here you can see the transport is in vertically upward direction in the case of xylem, but in the phloem the direction is both upward and downward, because leaves or green part may present at any of the location in the plant body. There the food will be made by the process of photosynthesis, and from those locations that food is transported to various parts. So it may be in any of the direction. Okay, so this is the transport. Yes, now protective tissues. As the name, protective means they are somewhat give protections to the your plant body. Okay, so protective tissues are the part of plant tissue system, and they include 2 types of cells or tissues: epidermis and cork. Here you can see this diagram. This is the structure, you can say dissection of the leaf. Here is the lower surface, this is the lower surface of the leaf, and this is the upper surface of the leaf. Here you can see upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Your upper epidermis also have stomata, but the number of stomata is very much higher at the lower epidermis, because the lower epidermis is at the downward direction, and it protect the direct sunlight to the sun rays to directly fall on the stomata in order to reduce the water loss. Okay, yes. Next is epidermis. It is outermost protective layer of the plant organs. The epidermis is usually made of a single layer of cells. Cells of epidermis are elongated and flattened. They do not have intercellular spaces in them, and they are living cells, but their inner content is somewhat similar to the parenchyma cells. In leaves, epidermis bears small pores called stomata, as shown in the above diagram. This is the lower epidermis, and it has stomata here. Number of stomata are present at the lower epidermis. Yes, in some plants, actually your epidermis layer get modified according to the habitat. So when the habitat is dry, it have waxy coating over the surface which protect the water loss, and it become quite thick. Here you can see in some plants living in very dry habitat, the epidermis may be thicker since protection against water loss is critical. The entire surface of plant has an outer covering called epidermis, and it protects almost all the parts of the plant. So what we have studied that there is no intercellular spaces, the cells are flat, and they have thicker outer cell wall. Then how the gaseous exchange will take place, how the water vapor will come out, right? So your epidermis is quite smart. It have the breakage point at various locations. One of the breakage point is stomata. It is the opening on the surface of leaf, right? In a similar way, another your point of the breakage is somewhat lenticles. They break and they help the gases exchange at that location. So epidermal cells on aerial parts of the plant often secrete a waxy water resistant layer on their outer surface. This will help in the protection against water loss, and it will also protect plant from mechanical injury. It also protect parasitic fungi to come inside the plant or to invade the plant. Okay, since it has protective role to play, cells of epidermal tissue form a continuous layer without intercellular spaces. These cells are relatively flat. Yes, epidermal cells of root whose function is water absorption are having some long hair-like structures or part which helps in increasing the surface area for the absorption of water. Yes, epidermis forms a thicker layer, and that thickened layer is made of cutin, that is water resistant substance. Function of epidermis. The function of epidermis is the protection of plant from injury and infection. Cuticle of epidermis. Cuticle is another protective layer over the epidermis. It helps to reduce water loss by evaporation, and in turn it protects the plant from desiccation, from the dryness. Okay. Stomata present in the epidermis allow gaseous exchange to occur during photosynthesis and respiration. It also facilitates transpiration. Photosynthesis is the process by which plant makes their food. Respiration means a gaseous exchange and to oxidize the food in order to produce energy. Transpiration means loss of water from the surface of plant in the form of water vapor. So epidermal cells secrete waxy secretion. They protect from parasitic infection, mechanical injuries, water loss, and in some cases where the root have high water absorption function, there the long hair-like structures are present at the roots, which helps in increasing the surface area for the absorption of water. Now, what is stomata? Here you can observe that small pores are present here and there in the epidermis of the leaf. These pores are called stomata. The stomata are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells which are called guard cells, and they are very necessary for the exchange of gases during the photosynthesis, and also helps in transpiration, that is the loss of water in the form of water vapor. Here you can see the diagram. We have magnified the epidermis and we have seen two kind of stomata. Actually stomata is only one, but the condition of the cases are different. In one case stomata is open, allow the exchange of gases. In other case stomata is closed and it do not allow the exchange of gases at that time. Okay. Yes. Cork, phellem. Cork cells are dead cells. You have seen the bark of the tree, that brown hard bark, that is cork. It do not have intercellular spaces. It do not have intercellular spaces. It is dead. It is quite thick. Then how it will allow gases exchange? At some point your cork is breaked and that breakage point is called lenticles, which helps in the exchange of gases. Yes, cork cells are dead cells. They do not have intercellular spaces. They appear at the periphery of root, stem. They as the plant get older, it increases the girth. That means it is a kind of secondary growth. Okay. They also have a chemical called suberin in their cell wall that makes them impervious, that is resistant to gases and water. Impervious means not allowing, which is not giving permission to water and gases to come in and go out. As plants grow older, the protective tissue undergoes certain changes, and a strip of secondary meristem located in the cortex region constitute the cork. Here you can see the diagram. Here cork cambium is here, right, in both the cases, and in this way you can see the growth in very first diagram. In second diagram there is some more layers, then in the third more layers are added. In this way stem and root gradually thicken towards the bark. Functions of cork. The function of cork in plant body is to provide protection, as they are protective tissue. They protect the plant from external injury and infection. It also prevents desiccation because they hinder the sunray to directly fall on the main soft stem, and thus somewhat stop the evaporation or lower the evaporation rate, thus prevents dryness of the plant. Since cork does not catch fire easily, it is used for insulation, shock absorber. It is also used for making sport goods like shuttlecock, table tennis pedals, cricket balls, etc. Yes, stem have cork or bark. It is dead, compactly arranged, no intercellular spaces are present. One chemical substance is present in the wall, that is suberin, water resistant. It helps gases exchange. It prevent water loss, as your suberin is impervious to the gases and water. Only gases exchange is allowed in the case of lenticles. Thank you.